Hello everyone, welcome to Book Club Preview. I'm Michael, and today we're looking at a new book, Ender's Game. This is one of my favorite books, I think, of all time. It's a beautiful, beautiful story, science fiction, following the journey of a young boy named Ender. And man, I don't want to give you any spoilers, so let's just jump straight into it. It starts off with two people talking, and it might be a little bit hard to see that in the book, but there's a conversation between two people. We have no idea who they are, but somehow they've been looking through this boy's eyes, hearing through this boy's ears, and actually being able to think what the boy thinks or see what the boy thinks. I don't know how to describe that. And they're talking about, man, we're gonna have to surround this kid with enemies to make him grow to be able to fight what they call the buggers. And it's like, man, that's gonna be terrible. I thought you liked this kid. Why are you gonna treat him so badly? And the guy says, well, if it helps us win the war, we'll do what we have to. And then that conversation stops and it goes into the story. And this book, the beginning will always start with a conversation between two different people. We don't know who they are all the time, but they'll be talking usually about Ender. So the story starts with Ender, and he's, I believe, in like the nurse's office or something, and he has a monitor. It's some kind of device on the back of his neck that's plugged into his brain. This is how they hear through his ears, see through his eyes, and stuff like that. And it's this device that's in there. And when you're wearing this device, it gives you some kind of special status. There's something about Ender that's very unique. In fact, the government, it sounds like, we'll learn this a little bit later, but that you can only have two kids. But Ender is a third kid. And that's really strange and not very good. So people in the story, they'll call him you third, which is a really bad word. That's like calling someone a bad name, because it's usually parents can only have two kids. But in any case, he has this device on the back of his head, and that gives him some protection, because these people that were talking before, they can actually see what's going on. So if someone's being mean to Ender, they can see it. So he has this monitor, they call it, and they're going to take it out. And Ender thinks this is good. It's like, well, look, okay, they took it out. I failed. I guess that means I failed. They're going to take it out, but my brother Peter, at least he'll like me again. Well, okay, Peter won't like me. Peter's dangerous. But maybe he won't try to be so mean to me, or he won't try to hurt me so much. Or he won't say such bad things to me. And so he's kind of talking about his older brother Peter. We don't really know too much about Peter yet, but he doesn't sound like a nice kid. The doctor comes in and he's like, don't worry, Ender, we're going to take this out and it's not going to hurt much at all. And Ender's like, okay, you're lying, but he says okay. Now in the story, a lot of times Ender's thinking one thing, but he says or acts another way. So you have to really pay attention to how he's thinking and how he's speaking. And so Ender says, okay. And he just sits there, and the doctor goes to take off this little machine, and he pulls it off, and Ender starts freaking out. And the doctor's like, nurse, nurse. And nurse comes in, and she sticks something in him to relax his muscles. But she almost puts too much in, and it'll relax his heart. And so they almost kill Ender. They almost disconnect his brain, because this machine is actually connected to his brain. And when they take it out, they might dink, just disconnect his brain. And Ender's like, he can't remember his name. He doesn't know what's going on. He can't remember how to talk. Like, he's like, oh man, it's really bad. But after 15 minutes, he starts to talk and he starts to recover. So he ends up going back to his classroom, because he's been in school this whole time. He goes back to his classroom, and his brain is still a little bit like, where am I? What am I supposed to be doing? But it's slowly coming back. He feels like something's missing. And then the kids notice before he does. There's a Band-Aid on the back of his neck, and they say, his monitor's gone. He failed. Oh, he's just a normal kid now. Oh no, he's just a third. And suddenly people start to tease him a little bit. And Ender 2 starts, oh, I'm normal now. Nothing special about me. So he's sitting down at his desk, and there's all this cool technology. He has this like little computer at his desk and make it do different things. And someone sends him a message saying third, which again is a bad word. And he doesn't know who sent it to him, but Ender is the one that actually created this program to be able to make the words scroll around the screen and to send secret messages to each other. So even though his enemy is saying something bad to him, he's actually using the tool and skill that Ender discovered and made. So Ender feels a little bit proud with that. But there's some hidden enemy that wants to hurt Ender. And so, well, they should say for all time. As Ender goes home, okay, now in class he can't think very well, but he ends up needing to go home. And some students gather around him, all right, because Ender's been special this whole time, and they want to now take out their frustration to him. And so they start pushing Ender and calling him names and saying bad things. And Ender realizes, like, okay, if I don't do something, these kids are going to hurt me. If I don't do something, they're going to continue hurting me. So I need to stop this situation for all time. And so what he does, and again, his thinking is a bit different than his actions, he starts to laugh. Oh my goodness. He's actually really scared right now. He's planning things out. But he starts to laugh. Oh my god. It takes 3 of you guys to fight 1/3. And he even calls himself like this bad name to make himself feel lower. And so then the other kids kind of feel like, oh, well, man, maybe not. And so they kind of back off. And when they do, the biggest kid that's been causing this whole thing, Ender kicks him as hard as he can, boom, right in his chest. The kid falls down, oh, and starts to roll on the ground. Now, Ender thinks, okay, if I just run right now, tomorrow, all these kids are going to come and beat me up. So I have to end this for all time, so that way they won't try to hurt me again. And so Ender goes over to the kid. He's down, he's hurting, and Ender kicks him as hard as he can again in the side. Oh! And the kid starts crying more. And Ender says, listen, you guys might be able to come up together and beat me up, but someday I'm gonna get back at you. And this right here, I'm gonna make it even worse. And he kicks the kid in the face. And the kid's crying, there's blood everywhere. And he just tells him, leave me alone, pretty much. And so then he goes off to the side around the school, and then he just starts crying because he felt so bad. He didn't want to do this to the kid, but he knew that if he didn't hurt this kid really bad, then they would beat him up for the rest of his school days. And so he had to stop it. And so he threatens the other kids, and they back away. That is how the chapter ends. Whew. Okay, a lot going on here. Number 1, vocabulary, buggers. Buggers, we don't really quite know yet, but they're an alien. They're an alien race that met humans and almost destroyed us, but then disappeared or something. We'll learn a little bit more later, but they look a little bit like bugs. Submerge is to completely go in, so you can submerge your head in water. Ender submerges himself into people. Now, not really, but his mind. His mind can really figure out what is going on in a person, and he can feel and think what they feel and what they think. It's very, very cool. Horrid is terrible, awful. Spasm is a shake that you can't control. Your muscles shake. Sometimes maybe if you're too stressed, your eye will go ding, 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 ding. it'll have a little muscle spasm. Or maybe your arm, the muscle will start to shake a little bit. That's a spasm. But in this case for Ender, his whole body was spasming when they took out the monitor. Washed out means failed. This is like a army, military, navy kind of term. I don't know exactly where it comes from and what it means specifically, but it means failed. Like you failed, you had to give up, and you quit your army career or military career. Contour is like a shape. If you think of a map, that map is 2D, but it tries to show where like a mountain is, and the lines will get closer to show the contour, the shape of the mountain. Droned on, continued on in a very boring way. Forestall means to make it so it doesn't come as fast. So the kids are pushing Ender and bullying him, but he tries to forestall the fight. So he tries to say things to stop the kids, to make them think about other things so he can plan. He tries to pause or wait, forestall. And supine is the last word we have here for our vocabulary. And this word is talking about when the boy lands on the ground. And it's a way of laying down when you're on your back. Your back is on the ground and your face is up. That's supine. If you flip it around the other way, that's like prone, we call that. That leaves us with our discussion question, which is, have you ever hurt someone on purpose? Now, I know that's a tough one, okay? Like, probably not like Ender hurt someone on purpose, but I don't know, maybe you were playing a game and you gotta like bonk someone on the head or something. It hurt them and it was for fun, but you did hurt them on purpose. And of course, please make your own discussion question. That is all the time that we have for today. But thank you so much for joining me for this episode of Book Club Preview. I'll see you soon. Bye-bye.